According to Israeli media, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he's accepted a new ceasefire plan proposed by US envoy Steve Witkoff. Meanwhile, Hamas says it's currently studying that plan. It comes as Israel announced plans to establish 22 new settlements in the occupied West Bank, marking the largest expansion in decades. For more on this, I'm joined by Fredman, former Ministry of Strategic Affairs official and the director of the Misgav Institute for National Security. Absolute pleasure to have you on, Asher. Thanks so much for joining us. Can we start with...
Thank you.
Good evening. Can we start with the news we're hearing of Netanyahu saying Israel accepts a US Gaza ceasefire proposal? Hamas says it's currently studying it. What steps will Israel take next?
Israel has, from the outset, set a key goal of bringing home as many of our hostages as possible. But at the same time, we can't allow Hamas to survive as the dominant power de facto in Gaza and rebuild its terror capabilities for carrying out the next October 7th attack. According to the latest proposal, there will be a temporary ceasefire. A number of the hostages will come out. There will be discussions about what the day after might look like. I believe that if Hamas is truly willing to relinquish power, we might see a lasting and permanent ceasefire. If Hamas wants to remain either officially or de facto the dominant power on the ground, we will likely see the resumption of the current war.
And my guest that I was speaking to before you, Angie Wong, she says that she's speaking to sources and it doesn't look like Hamas is actually going to accept this plan. What will the consequences of this be?
Hamas's primary goal from the outset has been to survive. If it survives, if Israel retreats and it holds a big rallies in Gaza City, it will be seen as the victor. And therefore, it's unlikely that Hamas will accept any deal that doesn't have a permanent end to the war that leaves it in power. Israel has launched the Gideon's Chariots operation in Gaza. It's really the first operation that we've seen that's truly designed, truly calibrated to achieve this goal of dismantling Hamas as the dominant military and governing power. For just one example, the plan is that Israel will hold on to territory long enough to find all of the tunnels and the weapon storehouses that are hidden underground. In the past, Israel went in, captured an area, and then left. The idea now is that Israel will stay, find all the terrorist infrastructure, and only then leave. This has, of course, made Hamas very nervous, which is creating some willingness for a hostage deal, but it remains to be seen whether, in fact, the hostage deal indeed happens.
And thank you so much for your insights into that deal that we're hearing at the moment that Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has accepted. But on to another story. The UK government has condemned the decision by the Israeli government to approve the 22 new settlements in the occupied West Bank. Will this have any impact on the Israeli government's decision?
I don't believe it will. After Hamas's October 7th terror attack and Hamas's growing popularity in the West Bank, it is by far the most popular political party in the Palestinian Authority today. It's clear to Israel that there are strategic areas that it must remain in control of under any foreseeable arrangement in the future. Just as one example, we know that Iran and Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, are looking to attack Israel from Jordan to attack Israel's eastern border. So increasing Israel's presence in the Jordan Valley along its eastern border is a key strategic security need for Israel's future security and safety. So I think that I'm not surprised that the UK government has condemned the move, but I think there's a broad consensus in Israel that these are areas that Israel will need to remain in control of in any future arrangement, whatever that might look like.
Is Israel still working towards a two-state solution in light of these new settlements, or is it looking more like a one-state solution is something that the government is working towards after what I've just heard from you there?
Let's look objectively. The Oslo paradigm, which has been dominant for the last 30 years, has not brought peace or prosperity or stability, neither to the Palestinians nor to the Israelis. And each side will blame the other, and it's very obviously a very complicated and complex issue. But the bottom line is, for 30 years, we've been trying the same thing. It hasn't worked. And it might be time to consider new paradigms, more out-of-the-box solutions, which will be good for the Palestinians and good for the Israelis. I don't think we have to say, well, this is what was decided 30 years ago, and we can't think of any other potential solution, especially given the fact that the Palestinian Authority is already losing control of parts of its own territory. It's losing control to militias in the northern West Bank, to terrorist groups. We might have to have a rethink about what the future looks like for Palestinians and for Israelis, so we can both enjoy stability and security and even prosperity in the region.
And how do you anticipate this decision will affect Israel's relationship with its Arab neighbours, particularly those involved in the accords that were signed, the Abraham Accords?
Israel very deeply values these relationships, and we've seen them continue on the diplomatic level, the strategic level. We've even seen trade continue to rise in between Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, also between Egypt and Jordan. Trade rose, for example, in 2024 after the war, as opposed to 2023 before the war. These countries have leveraged the trust that they've developed with Israel, for example, to play a leading role in bringing humanitarian aid into Gaza, because there's this trust, this rapport built between the sides that was able to happen. We've seen, for example, the UAE called in the Israeli ambassador to condemn Israel's March on Jerusalem Day. So there are tensions, and both sides know how to openly discuss the issues that bother them. I think that Israel's Abraham Accords ties will continue. I think hopefully if we get to a day after Hamas, a day where Hamas really is no longer present, no longer dominant on the ground in Gaza, these countries may play a key role in creating a better future for Gaza. And it's even conceivable that in a future where the PA is willing to, for example, end its terror incitement, end its terror payments, and undergo real reforms and incitement, create a culture of peace, these countries like the UAE, even like Saudi Arabia, might have a role in building a better future for the Palestinians as well.
And you speak to me there about, you know, eradicating Hamas when they don't have so much power anymore within Gaza. But the humanitarian situation in Gaza has been described as dire, with significant civilian casualties and infrastructure damage beyond belief. The scenes are chaotic. How does the Israeli government balance its security concerns with the need to minimize humanitarian suffering?
There's no doubt that there's been terrible suffering on both sides, and nobody in Israel wants to see innocent civilians hurt. The challenge has been that Hamas, as we know, has built its terror bases in hospitals, in schools. Friends of mine who've served in Gaza tell me that in nearly every house they find a terror tunnel or a weapon or explosives. So it's been a real challenge. But we have to remember, if Israel doesn't eliminate Hamas as the dominant power, then we're looking at another devastating war a year from now, 2 years from now, just like we had numerous wars over the last 15, 20 years. The only way we're going to get to a stable and viable and peaceful future for the people of Gaza and for the people of Israel is by eliminating Hamas.
Thank you so much for your thoughts there. It was absolutely great to speak to you. I hope we have you back on the show. That was Fredman. Once again, a pleasure to speak to you.